you take your first course, they have a sensitivity training session where they kick you in the nuts until you barf up your own bowels. And you go, fine, I'm a patriarchal, racist, anti-gay, just do whatever you want to me. And that is why we have a nation of eunuchs. That's why we have a nation of men that are afraid of being pilloried by Tom Brokaw and Peter Jennings and Dan Rather. That they know that if they don't accept the social justice, liberal, they change it every week, progressive, because they don't believe in free speech unless they're being kicked out of Zuccotti Park. It's not, the free speech movement was a facade. It was a coup d'etat by the left 40, 50 years ago. In the name of social justice, in the name of helping the poor, in the name of helping minorities, in the name of helping transgendered people, they hand you socialism, warmed over communism, progressivism, statism, whatever you want. And they don't even give you the chance to hear the other side of the story. That is why, as a liberal Jew who had a default liberal position in Brentwood, California, where I was around, I live on the campus of UCLA, 95 to 5. I live in Hollywood, 95 to 5. And I work in the mainstream media where I walk through the halls of CBS, ABC, and NBC when they invite me, which is only when they think they have me under fire and I'm willing to go, because it's the only time that they'll let me on the air, and potentially I'll get my star moment. I don't care. In a country that respects and reveres the First Amendment, I don't care about the left espousing its crazy nonsense and a philosophy that doesn't stand up to the test of time, a philosophy that does not create campuses with these beautiful buildings. What you get is Hugo Chavez's blight in Venezuela. You get Castro's blight and his Potemkin village tours to celebrities to show them something else. If your social justice works, you show me where it works. If your social justice works, you should be proud to offer the alternative in your humanities departments, in your English classes, in your history classes, in your philosophy classes, in your gender studies classes, in your Chicano studies classes, in your queer studies classes. But instead, they deprive you of the other point of view. And in 40 years, they've sold this country down the river. And the reason why people are at Occupy Wall Street to a great extent, other than the emails we found that showed that it was the international anarchists, the international socialists, and pro-intifada groups from, pro-Palestine, intifada groups, that mass of young student or post-collegiate youngster who 2 years ago represented hope and change is now in Zuccotti Park in absolute despair about where he is, or he or she is in the country. I would argue is because they graduated with $200,000 in debt and an overpriced humanities degree, and they're going to owe $200,000 over the next 20 years, and they're not going to be able to even get a down payment on a house during that period of time. And during that period of time, over the last 20 years, every other country in the world, especially the socialist ones, or the ones who are transforming themselves from being communist, moving away from a failed system, have sent their children to this country to go to the other buildings. The real buildings. The buildings that I was physically repulsed by when I was in college. Engineering, where they would make circles. Effective circles. And put effective numbers in them. Our children are graduating with the worst degrees in the history of humanity. If you have a humanities degree, take your comparative literature degree and try and get a barista job in 2011. There's going to be a line around the block. And all these people who didn't go to Thirsty Thursdays, and I was going to Taste Bud Tuesdays or, Manic Monday drinking hours. 20 years ago, you could afford to be, to coin a Hollywood term, a slacker. And I was that person. And I look back and I say, thank God the engine of capitalism is so powerful that it can create so much wealth that the children of prosperity could benefit to the point where they just buy CDs and go to movies and watch television. And that was the generation that I grew up in. And I live at UCLA now. And I used to go with my fake ID when I was 18 years old to Stratton's. And there was a line around the block of co-eds with their humanities degrees on Tuesday nights. And it was so fun. It was so fun. That's it, thanks. And 25 years later, I live in Westwood, and Stratton's is gone, and it's a mostly Asian campus. And the reason why is because they're working harder than I was, and they can make circles better. And there are Pakistanis going into the engineering class. They're coming from Pakistan and coming to here and going back to Pakistan or going back to China with real degrees. Well, our kids are going, career studies, comparative lit. Do you know what happened and how it happened? Does anybody know what the Frankfurt School is?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to do my shortest Frankfurt School and try to explain to you what happened. And there's going to be an effective circle drawn by the end of this to show that we can be redeemed. What happened is this. This is my conspiracy theory. There's a fantastic, it's in my book. What's the name of the chapter? Breakthrough is the name of the chapter. It's the medicine in the sherbet. It's like the rest of the book is kind of fun and not necessarily light per se, but the most important chapter is Breakthrough. And it's about the Frankfurt School and how academia went from Dead Poet Society and the Humanities Department, Dead Poet Society, and erudite students who understood the Western canon and what Western civilization was, into a counterproductive Marxist critical theory convent for the dispossessed, a social justice nightmare session. The Frankfurt School came from the University of Frankfurt, and they were Marxists, they were basically communists, and they fled Nazi Germany in the 1940s. The names that you may have heard of, Marcuse, Adorno, Horkheimer, all looked at America as other countries were adopting to the Marxist domino theory order, the Marxist theory of the haves versus the have-nots, which was Marxist economic theory, the owner class versus the proletariat, the working class. In America, which was the most important piece on that game board, these guys came here and fled true fascism. Adorno was from Italy, Mussolini. They escaped true fascism to come to the United States. First place that they entered was Columbia University. Columbia College in where Obama went, coincidentally, and where the preeminent journalism school in the country is just a coincidence that they're so radical in their orientation. And these guys came to the United States and they realized that the argument for communism worked for some communities, but not the majority of communities. And the concept of Marxist-Leninist revolution, which was trying to create a class war, haves versus the have-nots, wasn't working in the United States, because in the United States we had two things going for it. E pluribus unum, one from many, the concept that we would become an American culture, not a culture based upon skin and race and, a melting pot. You could be any religion you wanted. And the middle-class work ethic. And the Frankfurt School, I believe it was Adorno, moved to Santa Monica, and he wrote about, upon moving there, that he was depressed because everybody there was smiling and relentlessly cheerful was his quote, and that they were too consumerist. They were out there just buying stuff. This guy moved from the epicenter of World War II and comes to palm trees, California, and Hollywood in its golden age, and he's upset because people are smiling and shopping around him. Remind you of your professors much? Remind you of Courtney Love or Kurt Cobain or Eddie Vedder? Depressives who don't like our consumerist nation and throw in their hat towards class warfare at Occupy Wall Street. Well, anyway, these guys brilliantly figured out, or said, America is impenetrable in the short term to the Marxist-Leninist argument of overthrowing the government and overthrowing the establishment, the owner class, the rich, because too many in the working class feel invested in their ascension through the system. And so these guys brilliantly socially engineered the Frankfurt School. Look it up. It's in my book. Media Matters did not challenge me on this. It's all there. It's all true. And I can get you the head of the University of Berkeley History Department confirm the thesis that I'm offering you. And what they did was they translated Marxist economic theory, the haves versus the have-nots, into the oppressor and the oppressed, otherwise known as political correctness, otherwise known as multiculturalism. And it runs contrary to E pluribus unum, in which a whole bunch of circles here, friends. I'm going to give a whole bunch of circles. Instead of America as a circle and a melting pot, social justice, African Americans right here. And let's see. In the humanities departments, it's called African American Studies. Post-structuralism adopted this new way, oppressor-oppressor way of looking. No longer English classes, because English was now being taught because it was mostly Caucasian writers, and everybody now was given their own circle. So there's LBGT now. They've got their circle over here. You've got women over in this circle. Over here, you have Latinos over here. So you're no longer working into a model of people integrating and embracing what my family did. My sister's Mexican, we were both adopted, and we never thought to look at each other's glaringly transparent different SPF factors. She was just my sister until I went to college and learned better. In the name of social justice, small c communism, with a registered trademark, or else I'll sue you. Socialism, progressivism, and even, ironically, anarchy. Just to be consistent with the theme of anarchy. Social justice, my friends. And I had to put the pieces together. What the hell happened to my brain in Los Angeles, being a person who just sucked down the mainstream media and sucked down the American Studies degree. I go, what happened? Why am I listless? Why do I resent my boss? Why do I think the world is owed? Why do I think the world owes me something? Why am I trying to find my own oppressive circle of my own? I'm Jewish, you know, and there was a Holocaust. And let me think, I can't get a job because my people have been oppressed. Everybody wants, in social justice America, to exist in their victim circle. Because oppressor, oppressed. If you're in the oppressor class, you can't have an opinion. You're actually racist. Doesn't matter if you're not. You don't see it. You're institutionally racist. So shut up. No, seriously, shut up. Because they are oppressed, and they're oppressed, and they're oppressed, and they're oppressed, and their point of view is here, and this is the social justice movement to take over the haves. And it's happening right now at Zuccotti. Oh no, we got rid of it. I'm sorry. The Occupy movement is the manifestation of years and years and years of the social justice movement in order to finally have its last push, its last moment to take America to the brink, to embrace progressivism, socialism, small c communism, what have you. And for the last 3 years, I've been blessed to be part of an American uprising that I believe, if the country is saved, will have been a result of the Tea Party. And the Tea Party believes in the Constitution. The Tea Party believes in E pluribus unum. The reason why Toure on MSNBC and MSNBC and Dylan Radigan, as long as you admit that you're an oppressor, within that oppressor-oppressed thing, you get safety. So Dylan Radigan gets to sit there and say, Toure, tell me why the Republican that's speaking today is racist. Well, because he used a code word, break. Break means breaking the slaves. I'm like, wow, that's pretty tough. I'm not going to be able to avoid using break in the future, no matter how hard I try. The Tea Party is an existential battle against the left. And the left stood up, and its only arsenal is accusing its enemy of being racist, sexist, and homophobic. So that's what it did. And it did it ad nauseum because an army of Thursday Humanities Department goofballs, not unlike me, trust me, been there, done that, accept this blather because their professors do not give the other side of the story. Again, Cuba, Venezuela, there's your model. Good? You want there? Then move there. But they won't. And you know what they don't have? They don't have a First Amendment. First thing that Obama did when he got elected was waste his time on Rush Limbaugh to try and shut him up. Why? Because he went to Occidental and he went to Columbia. And in the last 40 years, the colleges have turned from Sproul Hall and the free speech movement to oppressive, politically correct garbage dumps where your kid comes out stupider than when he went in. I know, that was me. We can no longer afford, my friend, to indulge ourselves with the lovely, soft-spoken Maya Angelou poetry. God bless her. We need engineers. We need mathematicians. We need people who can create things. We need a productive society where we mine things and manufacture things and drill for things. But the organized left has shut down our ability to mine, our ability to oil, our ability to create people in our institutions who can work in those industries. They've created a mind-numb army, and they're at Zuccotti, or they're watching The Daily Show. And that's my battle. It's a cultural battle. I did not bring up the presidential thing at all, because that's not what I do. I don't go on CNN and go, oh, new, Romney. It's just not my thing. My thing is recognizing in our lifetime, the First Amendment has been attacked mercilessly by the social justice crowd in the name of the oppressor and the oppressed false model. And it's destroying our country. And we don't have long to figure out how to stop it and start making the correct decisions to fix it. Because China's kicking our butt. Every other country out there that learned from socialism and communism that it didn't work is now mining until its eyes are exploding with uridium and other things that the environmental movement tells us that we can't do. Or oil. Think about the logic of this left-wing oppressor oppressed people. Why is it okay to rape Mother Earth in Brazil for your Prius gasoline by borrowing from communist China? What type of a narcissist or idiot are you that it's okay to use gas as long as it's drilled in a country that doesn't have our strict drilling standards? This is narcissism that we're talking about here in these humanities departments. And I believe that my generation, the slacker generation, was the last privileged generation that could waste 4 years in college and drink Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. We are now lagging in the world because of this social justice crap. And so I'm obnoxious, I admit it, but how else are we going to draw attention to the problem that our country is now flailing in a global economy and we're not making any of the correct decisions? And you've got a bunch of people who have been programmed by the international anarchists, international socialists, to go down and wage class warfare, which is oppressor oppressed and the haves versus the have-nots. That's all the Occupy movement is. It's the radical left, it's the progressive movement, it's failed everywhere around the world, and it's failed on this campus in the humanities departments, it failed at Tulane, it's failed at UCLA. For all those people that we've started to fight back in the mainstream media and started to take on, Dan Rather gone, Katie Couric gone, we are not going to even come close to becoming competitive until we root out the rot that are the humanities departments in America's colleges right now. Because your kid comes back after that first week, bye Mom, bye Dad, I love you, thank you for the little tiny fridge. The stereo from Sharper Image, or I love you, Mom. And then you come home at Thanksgiving, and why are you serving turkey? Do you understand what we did to the baby? Mom, you're a bitch. You're a depressing bitch. So I wanted to rile up Cameron. I wanted to get him real pissed off and start tweeting things now in his anonymity. And I'm willing to take questions based upon this well thought out, pre-written presentation. And, if you have any